Good evening, viewers. You are watching Scoreboard on ACTN The Voice. We have a wonderful surprise for you this evening. Before we get into that, first I would like to say on behalf of ACTN, Scoreboard, and all of us here, our most heartfelt sympathies to all of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who are experiencing really difficult times due to the flooding, the rains, all of these things that are happening right now. And also our thanks to everyone who's working so hard and pulling together to make everyone's lives easier and to do whatever little bit that they can to help the families who are struggling. And really a lot of things are happening that we can see and a lot of things are happening that we don't see. So a heartfelt thanks to everyone who's working so hard. Scoreboard has put together a special program, which is the Scoreboard Women's Panel. So tonight, myself, Maria Thomas, and Solange Guzman are joined by Cleopatra Borrell and Shirley Lyons for our inaugural Scoreboard Women's Panel. We are very excited to join you and to discuss longevity in women's sport. Solange, would you like to start us off?
Yes. So thank you guys for coming. Cleo, I have been following your career for a very, very long time. And Sheila, I got the opportunity to work with you at TCCAN 2017. And my question to you guys, what keep you in the sport for so long? Cleo?
I would have to say just love for my sport. It is just what I do. It's not like a separate part of me or something that's in addition to me. Like being an athlete and participating in my sport is what I do. And I really foresee myself always training, maybe not being able to compete at the level that I compete at the moment, but just always being active, always being a part of my sport, even if it's in terms of coaching or in some other area. It is just what I do.
And Sheila, I know that you love to give back and you have a wonderful program in Point 14.
Yes, correct. But I am not a coach, but I do train coaches. I'm an administrator. I am a mother of 3 former national swimmers. I am a wife of a coach. And what keeps me going is that as a mother in sport and as also an administrator,
Sorry.
one of the things that I saw, the privileges, the opportunities that swimming gave my children, that swimming gave me, the travels, the discipline, more importantly, I feel it is my onus to encourage other parents and the young athletes to stay in sports. So I will always be around to give my contribution because I know that sport can change the world. It helps a lot in our discipline as parents.
Wow, that is truly a statement.
We were speaking earlier about the influence that you have in allowing parents to feel comfortable with their children playing sport, especially on going on tours and things like that. Can you comment a little bit further?
Well, as a mother, as an administrator, having had other young athletes live in my house, having been attached to the Point Forte community swimming pool, giving all the children the opportunity in the community to learn to swim, seeing their whole entire body language change towards sports, to the opportunities, the friendship that they gain, the socializing skills they gain. As parents, we don't have to contest with our children and say, no, you don't need to leave to go in the mall and lime. They know they got to sleep because they have competition tomorrow. They learn to eat right. And when you see that discipline as a mother, I mean, that is so much, that means so much to me as a mother, as a member of the community. The discipline alone, I mean, keeps me going to see that transformation that the young people get from being part of a sport.
And I'm sure that when other parents see you and can identify with your journey and to see how successful it has been in so many different ways, that it really makes them feel comfortable and knowing that their children are safe, and that representation of having a woman in a position that can take care of your child.
Of course, of course. One of the things I observe, I do train coaches. I probably would have trained about 262 coaches or more throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And what I experience is when people calling and asking for a coach, they ask for a female coach. Also, having experience traveled with national teams throughout, parents come to you and they feel so comfortable to know that you are a woman, that you have had experience, you have had children who especially achieved all their secondary school education and have graduated from university, and they are pretty disciplined. They look upon you for so much support, and I think I am able to be an inspiration to them. And I do have an open door policy and allow them to come and chat with me, and you know, I feel comfortable to say that I don't know if I don't know, and I'll get back onto you. But basically, I share all the time, and I share all the experiences with them, having the children gone through all the different steps already.
It's wonderful.
So, Cleo, you are an accomplished shot putter.
Yes.
You didn't get there by chance or luck. I am sure that you have to overcome a lot of adversities because you probably had some people trying to talk you out of your dream, which is to become who you are today. So can you tell us, how do you manage to overcome that negativity?
I have a simple trick that I use when it comes to dealing with negative people. If someone says something to me that I find is negative, I just turn it around to suit myself. So if no matter what anybody says, I find the positive in it. And I really make an effort to make sure that I'm not influenced negatively by other people, because I understand my journey, I understand my calling, and it's really about my opinion of myself at the end of the day. So no matter what anyone says to me, I find a way to spin it into a positive light, and I keep, you know, moving in my direction.
Do you remember the first competition that you entered? You wanted a particular result, but that didn't come true. Did you feel at that moment, well, I should quit, you know, I am not good enough? Did you ever be in that position?
No, because the first competition I ever entered, I just wanted to be like the other competitors in terms of having the right technique and just looking like somebody who knew what they were doing. And in that first competition, I was just so lost. I didn't know anything, and I really understood where I was and my position, and I was just trying to like fit in. And the following year, when I went back to that competition, I wanted to do well, and I was ready to fight, and I managed to win that competition. And that really taught me that, okay, I came, I experienced, and then for the next year, I put in a certain amount of work, and this is the result that I get from doing that work. So that taught me that hard work pays off, and all those small steps encouraged me to keep going. And it's just being able to evaluate your own life, and I think that that's what I'm good at. Not listening to like the noise that we all experience in life, and being able to like really suppress gratification, and being able to guide myself is, I think, my greatest talents.
Wow. Sheila, you said earlier on that you have coached around 200 plus, you have trained 200 plus
Yes.
coaches.
Yes.
And I'm sure that some of them may be parents, and they
yes.
want their children to be the best, right? But now the child probably have other intentions. So how do you manage to keep the child involved in the sports, to tell them, you know, it's not about winning just yet, you need to learn the proper technique and go through the stages of the long-term athlete development program? So how do you do that?
First and foremost, I remind coaches that they have a great impact on these children's life. They are the children's first coach. They are the children fear. They are the children fear factor. The parents are the comfort zone. So firstly, you have to teach your children for fun, fitness, health, and safety. That's the focus. Do not share with the coaches that, do not think because I have a competitive background, so to speak, that I want your child to be a competitive swimmer, or you should look at that swimmer as a competitive swimmer. What I would want them to do is to always give their children a sound background in terms of focusing on the basic water safety skills, life-saving skills, just the basic knowing how to swim, as we live in an island and we should know how to swim, as we can see what the floods has done recently. So I always let them know that is making the children comfortable. Fun face is strictly fun, fitness, health and safety. So I start off on that basic note. And then they have to also learn how to handle the children, treat with them, understand when they're not up to it today, so they can switch and do something else. You know, keep them focused, because children learn in different forms by observing, by listening. So I kind of expose them to that basic foundation first. Yeah.
Wow. And what about the parents? The parent that say, well, I want my child to be involved in swimming,
But you know what?
for only a period of time. But you realize that the child have potential, and now you have to think how to keep that child involved.
Well, that is always a challenge. But again, I keep it very real. I let the parents know when they bring the child to learn to swim, don't expect magic at the same time. Do not compare your children with any other child. Everybody learns at different rates. And I have a policy, once they learn to swim around me, before the child goes to that next level, I sit in with the parent on a one-on-one, have a discussion with both parents and sometimes the children, and I let them understand what it takes to be a competitive swimmer. It's no ordinary swimming. So if they're not up to it, I'm saying, okay, you can continue recreation, you can probably keep a little practice, contribute in your school activities, the school competitions, because by no means a competitive swimmer is an easy task. It's a lonely sport. I had a joke where a child complained to me and said that their parents said that they need to go see a religious leader because they're eating too much. The parent didn't understand that as an athlete. So what I try my best to do is to educate parents, encourage them to take part in different nutrition seminars, and I try to also provide that kind of service to parents so they'll better understand. Yeah.
Cleopatra, I know that we have systems set up, you have coaches, you have parents, you have the pathway that you would like an athlete to take or a child to take, but in the meantime, each of those children, they're independent and they will have their own things that they look at and things that would interest them. I know that you are definitely a role model for so many athletes here. You're a role model for me. I would love to hear about the types of role models and inspiration that you have at this time, or even when you were younger, when you were coming up, learning to play the sport. It's also a different sport that not a lot of people choose. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I would have to say my greatest role model was, of course, my dad and my older sister, primarily because I would look at my dad, work with my older sister on her throw-in, and I wanted to be like my older sister. So that's my primary role model. But then growing up and continuing to mature as an athlete, I always say that I look towards the the Cuban throwers, the Cuban shot putters, because they were like the only Caribbean black women that were doing my event at the time. So I would always look up to Yuma Lady Kumba from Cuba, and then in a more general sense, I looked up to just great female athletes like Venus and Serena Williams. But then, you know, a lot of times when I'm training and then I can identify a young athlete who's just so delicate, just so so much skill at a young age, I look up to those young athletes, like, look at this young person, and they're so disciplined at such a young age. So really you can get inspiration from so many different places. The key is to look for inspiration, to try to be an inspiration to yourself, and to just do what you know is necessary to accomplish your goals, and not be wishy-washy in life.
All right, well, with that message of inspiration, we do have to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
Only by not something.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua D'Amatos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately,
Kiss the badge? Kiss the badge? Oh.
what's that?
Welcome to this edition of the interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Hi viewers. Welcome back to this very special edition of Scoreboard. It is a all-women panel, lovely women, I must say. We are very beautiful. And we are going to continue having discussion with our invitees, Sheila Lyons and Cleopatra. So, Cleo, before the break, you were talking about how you felt motivated and that you can look for inspiration in anywhere. The key is to get yourself to get inspired and motivated. One, I would like you to tell us who are your most inspiring female person?
My number one must listen to, I listen to her before I speak, almost on a daily basis, I have to say is Oprah. When I was younger, I didn't get Oprah. I didn't get why people loved Oprah. I didn't get why some of my classmates set their schedule around the Oprah Winfrey Show. I didn't get it. And then over time, I started to really listen and pay attention to her message and to her intention in life. And I could see how purposeful she was as an individual and how driven and motivated. And I said to myself, I need to be the Trinidadian Oprah. And it's just, you just have to find mentors. And sometimes it's difficult to find a physical mentor or someone. I remember one time walking up to somebody and say, will you be my mentor? And that person was so confused. They kind of ignored the question.
Oh gosh.
So for me, having Oprah as a mentor, I can go to her whenever I need her. I listen to the same speeches over and over, and I try to improve my speaking by listening to how she puts together a speech, how she phrases things, how she interacts with people. Because, I mean, it doesn't get any better than Oprah. So if you want to be the best, you have to hang out with the best.
Absolutely. And along with that, how much consideration goes in at different parts of your day where you consider that there are people also watching you? So when you're training, when you're competing, how much of your brain space is dedicated to thinking, yes, you have a mission, which is your competition, but also the fact that the journey that you're on is an example for a nation?
I have to admit that I don't spend a lot of time thinking about other people, their focus on me. I've set my standards pretty high for myself, and I know that being in an individual sport really makes you a very internal person. And so there's not really another person who can critique me harder than I critique myself. So I know that once I'm meeting my standards, everything else is is going to sort itself out, because it's just that I've set the bar so high for myself and I expect so much from myself. So it's just like, it's about just walking in your own shoes and not really worrying about other people's opinions of you. Because even sometimes when you're doing what you need to do, working hard, when you're trying to be your best, there are people that will like come out of nowhere and say to you, oh, why are you studying for 12 hours? Why are you training for 4 hours? Why are you here again training? Like, Trinities love to say, you here again, Cleo? You in the stadium again? And I'm like, yeah, this is, you know what I mean?
Kind of what you do.
Yeah, yeah. So what else you do but train? Like, nothing. So
I was really inspired when you said that you get inspiration from young athletes.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of actually a photograph that I saw that was taken of me. And it was a great time because I was totally stressed out and frustrated about a lot of things. And when I saw the photograph, it was a young girl shaking my hand and receiving a medal.
Yeah.
But the expression on her face was such a reality check where I was like, oh, just because I'm frustrated doesn't mean that's what other people see.
Right.
You know, so a lot of the time those frustrations, it doesn't translate to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so inspiring that you acknowledge that these younger athletes and younger people, you know, you think they're looking up to you, but they're also a source of inspiration.
Definitely, because they're so like just innocent and pure in everything. Like, you'll see, I can vividly see right now the faces of young athletes. When I first started training at the stadium, they were so surprised to see me there, and they want to call me like Miss Cleo.
So they can tell their fortune.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, and I say to them, not Miss Cleo, and they have no idea of the whole story behind Miss Cleo because they're so young.
Of course.
But just how excited they are and how free, and just there's so much expectancy in everything, and I feel really inspired by that versus just like sometimes athletes become over time so disenfranchised, which is unfortunate. But so you have to get the light wherever it's shining, and sometimes it's the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we love that.
How would you say, Shirla, that can be imparted? You train coaches, so I mean that's amazing. Coaches then train athletes. You're influencing everyone by doing that. Is there a way that those sorts of, I guess, inspirations, that motivation, even the fact that, you know, when a coach thinks, okay, these are all the obstacles that are on the field and the obstacles off the field, how do you deal with protecting athletes so that they can go out there and just do their job?
Wow, protecting athletes first, again, I mean, I am hearing Cleo sharing her story there. And I tell the coaches all the time that they are inspirations. They are inspiration to the young ones. And I tell them, I mean, they may not want to be a role model, but the mere fact that when they're on the streets, children calling them uncle and auntie, and, you know, have that respect for them is a whole lot. When the children are competing, go look at them, go support them. That encourages them, that they're coaches, that they're even myself, when I go to a swim meet, and some of the coaches see me, they are happy to see me, and they're happy to share with me, these are my swimmers, and even the young swimmers, they're happy to see that I'm there supporting them. So I try my best to go as often as possible. Hence the reason why I sometimes announce at these events. And I pay very particular attention to announcing the children's name as correctly as possible and give them that power. And I will say, representing Point for Attack with that, we have so-and-so and so. You know, I kind of make them feel that special feeling. And it's amazing enough to know that parents come up to me and say, thanks for making my child feel special. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So simple little things I tend to look at. And I tell the coaches all the time, remember that you are as good as a teacher, as good as a nurse, as good as a doctor. You are the child's first coach. So you are an inspiration. So you also have to keep yourself together and be that leader at all times.
Yeah. I remember, Maria, when you share your story, when you look at that picture, and this is something that Cleo, you was involved in that when we went to CSC Games in Mexico, 2014. Yeah. I remember we were in the lounge room, and then a very small girl, she came to you, she just had won the medal, the gold medal there. Yeah. And she asked for a picture, and then I look at you and her, but the light and the bright on that child, it was like, wow. You know, so I tried to put myself on her positions, like I'm getting a picture with a superstar, you know, yes. I'm going to be like her. So it's such a inspiration, and then the joy that you had on your face, like to be able to do this for something that you to a total stranger was like really, really, really amazing. So Sheila, you as an administrator, you are the one who give encouragement and advice and make sure that people love swimming. But what do you do when you feel depleted, when you feel overwhelmed? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Wow. When I feel overwhelmed, do I feel overwhelmed? Because I tell you something, I do a lot of different things. And of course, I'm a wife and I'm a mother, and I take that very seriously. I'm an administrator, I take that very seriously. I might be an inspiration, I take that very seriously. But one of my secrets is every time I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I take 10 minutes for myself. And that is important for me to rejuvenate. I remember when I just started developing swimming in the community of Point Forte, we hosted a Goodwills to meet in Trinidad. And we had a couple of people make the national team. And I felt so happy because they were winning medals. And I remember I went up to a parent and I said, this is the reason why I left the professional, I left the corporate world to come into sport. This is what I like. It brings family together. Family are here and they're happy. And you know what makes me happy? To see the parents happy. I can stay back. I don't particularly like to announce because I like to go, stay in the background and see the joys of parents. Because to me, it's so important for people to be happy. It's so important that the children can bring joy to their family. Swimming is a family sport. And most times families come together. And I am thrilled by the excitement of people exciting and shouting at their children. And I'm like, wow, I look at every detail. I really, really, really appreciate that. Hence the reason when I'm announcing, I create excitement because I feel it too, because I'm studying the joys of the parents, the joys of the child, receiving that medal. You know, it's a really nice experience.
Sometimes the parents are more excited than the child.
Oh, they are too excited sometimes. They are too excited sometimes, but I think it's important because, as you know, and we all know that here, sports bring the world together. Sports bring joy to everybody's heart. We can take sport and carry it in whatever depressed community, and you will see a complete change.
Yeah.
And that I see parents, they walk up and down, they pave, they're excited, they shout, they scream. And I don't know if they realize that I am thrilled by that. I am thrilled by it because as a parent with my children in sport, I never did it. I don't know why, but I never did it, but I love to see it.
Yeah.
And so those things motivate me. Those things keep me going. I am thrilled when I see a new coach has graduated to a competitive coach. I'm thrilled when I see young coaches move on to national coaches and travel. Those things turn me on. So I'm encouraged by those things. Yeah?
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, sport can be very tough, whether you are an athlete or administrator. It is sometimes very overwhelming. But as you said, and I live by this credo, which is a phrase from Nelson Mandela, sport has the power to change the world.
Of
course.
It
does.
Yeah,
and sometimes we say,
so
I want to change the world, you know, and it's practically for one person, highly improbable to change the world, but you can change somebody's world. And then they will feel so different.
I can share something with you. I remember when I was leaving the corporate world and accepted the opportunity to work in the Point Forte community to develop sport. I was talking with one of my sisters and she said, Sheila, you know what? You're happiest most when you're working and when you're developing young people. So why not do it? And I started to do it one bit at a time. And I had opportunities to work in other organizations doing greater things that people will say is greater things. But for me, truly in my heart, and I was just sharing with her here, that if I change one person's life by teaching them to swim, they will change somebody else's life. And I took a position in my life that I would work in the community and change one person's life one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And for me, that is more powerful because I feel, this is my opinion, that when I go out into the bigger world, into sports, there's so many politics and politics, and I like to keep it real. And I'm saying, you know what? Let me work in communities. where, as we say, grassroots communities and build and give them that opportunity. Because when my children started in this sport, it wasn't a sport for South people. It wasn't a sport for this kind of person, that kind of person. I remember once a doctor told me that, why are you making so much fuss with your son? This race don't do well in this sport. And those things linger in my thoughts. And then I said, when I check and I see my son travel to about 21 different countries and had the opportunity to get a full scholarship at Florida State University, and I myself traveled to countries that I never thought that I would travel to, you know, I'm like, I know that feeling. I want to share that. I want to share my joys through some person who don't expect to be there, to some mother who didn't expect to be there. You know what I mean? The opportunities that I myself had traveling with teams and going to look at my son, some of the first Youth Olympics, you know, having spent 3 weeks in Singapore with all the football team and the girls. And I mean, and the joy that I see, I want other people to experience that. And of course, other people who don't expect to have that experience, I want to quietly give them that opportunity. And hence the reason why I decided to stick along and see what contribution I can make quietly.
Yes. I know, Cleopatra, you spoke about the bar that you set for yourself and how high that bar is and how that's really something that you can focus on, and as long as you know that you're striving for that bar, that the standard is going to be great. And what I'm hearing is that there's a bar for performance, there's also a bar for support, there's a bar for the community that's developed. And I think, especially with the younger children, think of conversations that we have and sometimes listening to stories and the way that people would speak about their sports teams in primary and secondary school. You're sure they're speaking about a national team.
Yeah.
You're sure it's a national team that they're talking about. And sometimes you think these memories that you went back to, back when I used to play football, how many years ago that was, and the sentiment that I had playing was that it was that important. And I think that's something that's so important with the culture of sport. And when you say at the senior level, why are we struggling? Are we having as much fun as we are at the junior level?
I think that logistics get in the way as you try to progress to a higher level of sport in Trinidad and Tobago. And that leads to a lot of frustration of the senior athletes, because I think our athletes believe as I progress through the system, the support is gonna, if I perform at a certain level, then I expect to get a certain amount of support. And I'm not just speaking about financial support. I'm speaking about ease of access, ease of logistics in terms of just arriving at training, getting there, being able to easily eat, sleep, and train. And when you're fighting traffic, you're fighting just so many battles in your life, your motivation begins to dwindle. And I can say from experience, if you're, when I was an athlete in the US, I was a student athlete and everything was taken care of, then I just had to focus on my classes and focus on competing. And although it was difficult, that was it. I didn't have to fight all these other battles. And I think that our senior athletes are constantly fighting other battles. For example, our women's volleyball team recently went to Japan. And the battle that they had to put forward just to get there, once they got there, they were probably like, oh, thank God, we made it, we're here.
The fight was before the competition.
Yeah, I don't know, they didn't say that to me. No one on the team said that to me. But based on my experience and looking at their journey, and I understand there's like a lot of other stuff that went in terms of how many competitions they went to and blah, 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 all of it. But it was a fight. It was a struggle. You understand? And so by the time they arrived, I'm sure they were like not in the right mindset to then start another battle. I'm sure they gave their best and they tried and all of that. But imagine if they didn't have that experience.
We do have to take a break, but when we come back, maybe we can take money out of the equation and talk about how can we support athletes so that when you get to the competition, you're not arriving tired.
Right.
We'll be right back.
you're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua De Matos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Unfortunately, kiss the badge, kiss the badge. Oh, what's that?
Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Hi viewers, welcome back. We are going to continue having discussion with Sheila Lyon and Cleopatra. And now we are going to figure out this question that everybody wants to know. And everybody wants the answer as to what we can do to help sports move forward in Trinidad and Tobago.
I think that the people of Trinidad and Tobago, they have to support athletes. We have to let our leaders understand, be it government or corporate, that we are into sport, we're a sporting nation, and it matters to us. It matters how our athletes are treated. It matters how we develop athletes. Health and fitness matters in this country, because until it matters, or until we prove that it's important to us, then it's just going to be, you know, another sideline or another something that we do in a very wishy-washy manner. We, the people, have to stand up for it if it's important to us. And that's it at the end of the day. Otherwise, we're going to continue as we're going.
So giving support to athletes, now this is a question, this might be a personal question, but probably a lot of people have. How is it when you're approached by people? I know even with my training, if I'm in HPU and I'm just trying to be cool and not fly off the rails because I'm so excited that I'm in the gym with this person or I'm sitting doing a panel show with these people, you know, it's really exciting, but sometimes maybe people don't know how to channel that excitement because you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. Like, people have to go grocery shopping, they might not want to take 100 pictures just to go and buy milk and bread, right? But in my experience, all the athletes that I've interacted with, I just see them doing an amazing job, being so supportive of the fans that are coming to them for pictures. Is that something that you think athletes like to have happen? Is that the type of support that helps to make an athlete feel, you know, that support that's not financial necessarily, but it is that the country's behind them?
I think that's the kind of support that's kept me going, between the 2012 and 2016 Olympic Games. You know, just, I returned home in 2012, and after being away for so long and not really interacting with the public here in Trinidad and realizing how much of an impact I'm having on people's lives, it was really surprising to me and really nice. And you know, as long as you're being positive, then I'm completely open to it. Just keep it positive is all I'm saying. Right. I remember coming from London in 2012 and there was the whole doping scandal and just seeing how angry other people were, and
wow.
it just, for me as an athlete, it kept me going and it keeps me going to know that I have a positive impact on my country is just really important. So I think definitely by showing that type of support is great.
So, Shirla, you working with children a lot more, interacting with parents, listening to what you're saying there, I'm thinking the biggest fans that an athlete usually has are their parents.
Of course.
And when you're talking about the parents cheering and screaming so loudly, like, do you notice a difference between when the children have that parental support and then they move off where maybe they don't have as much parental support, or the arena is just now bigger and they're expecting the stadium to be full of the reaction that their parents give them?
Oh, wow. Very deep question. Parents have to be careful and know when to draw lines with support. I spoke earlier about the passion that parents express, and some parents openly, you can see that they're living their lives through their children, which could work for and against them. Parents, they put a lot of pressure on their children. If you can, if you walk in my office, first thing you would see what parents should do and not do. They put a lot of pressure on their children. And that's one side of it. The other side of it is that parents, I am quite certain, is aware they have to continue supporting their children during the sport and at home, more importantly. At home, meaning that don't expect your child to be competing tomorrow or for the next 3-4 days and expect them to do all the housework. Expect them to go out the road and buy a chicken and chips or buy a barbecue. You have to cook those meals, that kind of support. You have to encourage them. You have to assist them with their work, support with schoolwork, you know. You have to have discussions with them, how to manage this, how to handle this, how to manage your peers, because sometimes peers can put pressure on one another. Parents' role is so important that I do believe that parents should be schooled. Parents of athletes should be schooled to know how to manage a young athlete at home. Yeah.
When you are an accomplished athlete like Cleo, you are known not only in Trinidad and Tobago but across the globe. And when you are a young athlete, maybe under 14, under 10, all your needs are taken care of. If you are famous, everybody knows you, everybody loves you, everybody wants to take pictures with you.
Yeah.
When you are younger, you have your parents there. But there is a big gap between 14 to 25 years old, right? I am already coming up. I feel I am a young woman, a young man. I don't want to go to sports anymore.
I can share.
Sports not putting money in my pocket. What can we do?
I can share that experience, my son's experience. He got a scholarship, I think, coming out of Commonwealth Games, either in India he was when he got his scholarship, and, you know, having to travel and being out there alone. I tried to go to parents' weekend, was interesting. I would call, not so much because for me it was an opportunity for them to grow on their own, but I had to really manage that. There are times he was really down, at times he was fed up, at times he couldn't cope with schoolwork and his studies, and I would just give that support and just keep it simple and remind him. Fortunately for me, he wasn't the outgoing child. He told me that his friends, the pressure you get out there to smoke weed, to go out and lime, to drink. And again, because of the parental support that we gave him early o'clock, and the discipline, as I said before, is not about your child's success alone, it's about preparing them for out there. And I think I could applaud myself and my husband because they were able to manage that really well and graduate and came out of it in one piece. And they were always the stronger ones in school. If they would share their stories, they would be the ones that advise their peers. So that support, I mean, is extended even when they're out there. There are times that they would come home and say, I don't want to go back. I'm not interested because the government take care of this one. I remember when he was out in school, he said to me, I am not swimming for Trinidad and Tobago again because they don't care. And I'm out there and they're taking care of all my meals, all my needs, all my medical. And it's like, and you know, so that kind of support, you always have to remind them to be grounded. Again, it's their country, you know, what they're doing it to inspire other people. I remember when I just went to Point Forte, he was preparing for Youth Olympics, and he would come to Point Forte at the community pool to train, and so many young people would come out to look at him. I remember this lady would bring her grandchildren all the time to look at him, and for me that was important. And when I reminded him of those stories, you know, the importance of what you're doing. Sometimes it may not bear fruits today, but you're inspiring somebody. So that parental support has to always be not just being there at the event, but that word when they're feeling down, you remind them of the reason why they're in it and what inspiration they're having on other people.
So you had a goal set for your child. That is why you guys managed to accomplish
you know
that.
What? Not really. No. I remember doing an interview with this same station maybe about 15 years ago, and I was saying that when they all started off in sport, for me, it wasn't about being a national athlete, and I remind parents that all the time. It was about having to do something in sport. You must do something in sport, because the passion that I have for sport, the positivity I see happens around sport, and the discipline, I knew I wanted it for them. So as a parent, I had to do some sport. It didn't have to be swimming, you know, because they did try different things, you know. They just had to do sport because I know the difference that sport can make to one's life. And that was important for me. It was my assistance as a parent for bringing up a child. So it was all part of the plan. No plan for competitive swimming, no plan for nothing, just going with the flow. As a matter of fact, I think when those children were much younger, it never dawned on me what they were achieving. I remember one friend telling me, you know, it's so amazing that when you go to competitions, you come home with 3 trophies, all 3 children win. And I'm like, okay. And that evening, we sat down and they checked the trophies and I said, wow, we have 67 trophies. Well, now, of course, a triple.
Yeah.
You know, but that was never in the equation. It wasn't about what they're winning. That is why when I go to competitions and they were competing, I would never scream and shout. I was like, okay, they're having fun. They're learning to swim. When they go home, they'll be tired. When they grow up to be young people, they wouldn't want to go in the mall and lime. They wouldn't want to go to this party. They have a focus. That was my game plan, to be quite honest. And it all played out.
Yeah, but that shows how the consistency, you're having fun, you're doing something that's healthy, that's good for you, and that pays off. It opens doors that maybe you didn't know were there. But as you reach, you know, even keeping yourself in a state of fitness, I'm sure there's been times that a competition may have come up that you're like, oh, am I ready for this competition now? And you can seize the opportunity. Can you speak, Cleopatra, to being prepared for opportunities like that?
I worked with a coach who would say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's just how you live life. You live your life looking for every opportunity. And sometimes when you don't want to do something, you have to say, well, is this an opportunity? What, like, look for the smallest opportunities. I migrated to the US on an academic scholarship, and I was going through a really tough period in my life where I was scammed and someone stole a lot of money from my parents, and I was homeless, and I was being evicted, I should say. And I decided to try to join the track team because I was stressed. And that led to being the single greatest decision, opportunity that I've ever made in my entire life. So opportunities are all around us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we just have to ask for the wisdom to see them and be willing to do the work to see it through.
It's amazing that in a situation of that much stress and that much pressure, the difference it makes, that decision, how you choose to deal with it.
Yes.
To say that you decided to go and join track so you could deal with your stress.
Yeah.
There are other ways you could have tried to deal with stress that might not have us looking up to you today.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. And when you look back on your life, you see, you know, it just looks like, oh, everything was put together so perfectly. But it really wasn't, and nothing's easy. But you just have to just live in the moment and enjoy what you're doing, and that's what I did. So even starting off as a young collegiate athlete, I was terrible. I didn't have any technique. I didn't know what I was doing. But I had this coach that was so inspirational, and he would say, "You'll go to the Olympics, you'll do this." And I just thought he was insane. I really honestly thought he was crazy.
You know, I want to interject here because I have this little saying I always say. I mean, I am not depressed. I am not perturbed by anything because I look and I see every negative that comes my way. I find a positive, and I try to inspire that to people.
Definitely.
Don't take any negative, because I feel sometimes when we sit in our comfort zone, we don't soar, we don't grow at all. So I'm excited. It may sound bad, but I'm excited when someone feels that they're challenging me or there's a negative, and I try to inspire that. I try to express that to other young people. Turn every negative into a positive, and see how you can grow from it, because I think what Cleo is saying there means a lot, and as I mean, that is it.
Yeah,
the good example.
Cleo,
she took her stress and
you
turned to track.
Unlike Sheila, you are not a parent.
No,
but you are a brand.
Yes.
Everybody knows you, not only in Trinidad but across the globe, and you have been exposed to a number of people, and especially young people. And I'm sure that, well, I know that you give a lot of talks, you do a lot of presentations, you get invited to a lot of shows like this one. I'm sure that at some point in your life, you probably came across someone who comes from a very poor background, and probably this person said to you, "I want to be like you." And you know, in that situation, you know, maybe the family is not financially healthy, the environment is not the appropriate one for that person, and you can see, because you came from that, you can see the struggle that this person have to overcome. So what would you tell to that person at that moment?
Whenever someone says, "I want to be like you," or there was this young athlete who would always say, "I want to be the next Cleo," I say, no, you have to be better than me, because I've already laid this foundation for you to climb above and reach beyond where I am. And you have to be you. You have to walk your journey and do your thing, and just don't give up. Don't compare yourself. You can learn from other people, but you don't want to compare yourself to another person, another person's achievements and their journeys. This is your life. You're here to walk your walk. So I want young athletes to do better than me. I want us to have, I'm an Olympic finalist. I want us to get female Olympic medalists. And that's why I'm in school now. You know, studying again, I can't believe it. But I'm doing my postgraduate degree in sports management because I want to help other athletes. I don't want our athletes to go through the same stuff that I went through. I want us to elevate our level and to be better. So no matter what your struggle is, in 2018 and beyond, there's a way for you to move forward, and you have to find it. The resources are there, and you just have to fight.
So that means that you have to run your own race.
You have to run your own race.
And I remember that. I heard that from Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
In fact, she said, you have to run your own race.
Yes.
You cannot look back. Because if you look back and then you realize he's too close, then you get scared. Yeah. And then you lose focus.
Yeah. There was a distance race where there was like two athletes that trained together, and they held their hands to hold their hands and cross the finish line together. And then another athlete came from behind them, whoop, and passed them and won the race.
Yes.
And it's about what you're saying, like when people are running and you're looking back, and then somebody, don't look back, hold your head forward and run your race, and run as hard as you can run. And even when you're not in front, like my friend Dion Lendor, you keep running that race and you don't know who's going to get disqualified, and then you have a medal in your hand. Yes. So you just keep running and just keep going and enjoy your life, and that's it.
Have fun.
Have fun. Life is fun.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. It has been really exciting. It has been really inspiring. I love that the message is that, yes, we have this amazing representation to say, yeah, we can do it too. And that is to continue going and excelling and doing better and better each time. I'm so happy that you're able to come here to talk with us. I definitely want pictures afterwards, so it's cool to want pictures. We've heard it from Cleopatra Burrell. We're going to support our national athletes, whether it's through administration in the system, if it's through training hard and doing what you have to do, focusing on running your race. or if it's on being an awesome fan that comes out and makes these events so exciting so we can all feel like we have 10,000 parents cheering us on in the stands. So thank you again. Solange, I don't know if you want to close up for us.
Yeah, well, I must say that I actually learned something today from Sheila Lyon. Just go with the flow.
Yeah,
and it will
that
work
is
because I saw.
That is my hashtag. Go with the flow.
I was fortunate enough to read your story in the papers, and I saw the picture of so many trophies.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, going with the flow actually works. And then from you, Cleo, don't get ready, stay ready.
Yes.
And from all of us, you know, you have to run your own race. You can run, you can throw, you can swim, you can run with Maria. Well, viewers, we have come to the end to this fantastic panel show, all lovely and beautiful women here. And stay tuned for another edition of Women in Sports.
Thank you.